Megan waits where the shadows lean, under the old apple tree. Moonlight spills on the grass below, her only witness, the breeze. She hums a tune they used to sing.
Ashurst spent the next week confirming the restoration of his leg by exploration of the country within easy reach. Spring was a revelation to him this year. In a kind of intoxication he would watch the pink-white buds of some backward beech tree sprayed up in the sunlight against the deep blue sky, or the trunks and limbs of the few Scotch firs, tawny in violent light, or again, on the moor, the gale-bent larches which had such a look of life when the wind streamed in their young green, above the rusty black underboughs. Or he would lie on the banks, gazing at the clusters of dog violets, or up in the dead bracken, fingering the pink, transparent buds of the dewberry, while the cuckoos called and yaffs laughed, or a lark, from very high, dripped its beads of song. It was certainly different from any spring he had ever known, for spring was within him, not without. In the daytime he hardly saw the family, and when Megan brought in his meals she always seemed too busy in the house or among the young things in the yard to stay talking long. But in the evenings he installed himself in the window seat in the kitchen, smoking and chatting with the lame man Jim or Mrs. Narration, while the girls sewed, or moved about, clearing the supper things away. And sometimes, with the sensation a cat must feel when it purrs, he would become conscious that Megan's eyes, those dew-grey eyes, were fixed on him with a sort of lingering soft look which was strangely flattering. It was on Sunday week in the evening, when he was lying in the orchard listening to a blackbird and composing a love poem, that he heard the gate swing to, and saw the girl come running among the trees, with the red-cheeked, stolid Joe in swift pursuit. About 20 yards away the chase ended, and the two stood fronting each other, not noticing the stranger in the grass, the boy pressing on, the girl fending him off. Ashurst could see her face, angry, disturbed, and the youthers who would have thought that red-faced yokel could look so distraught. And painfully affected by that sight, he jumped up. They saw him then. Megan dropped her hands, and shrank behind a tree trunk. The boy gave an angry grunt, rushed at the bank, scrambled over and vanished. Ashurst went slowly up to her. She was standing quite still, biting her lip, very pretty, with her fine, dark hair blown loose about her face, and her eyes cast down. "I beg your pardon," he said. She gave him one upward look, from eyes much dilated, then, catching her breath, turned away. Ashurst followed. "Megan." But she went on, and taking hold of her arm, he turned her gently round to him. "Stop and speak to me. Why do you beg my pardon? It is not to me you should do that." "Well, then, to Joe. How dare he come after me? In love with you, I suppose." She stamped her foot. Ashurst uttered a short laugh. "Would you like me to punch his head?" she cried with sudden passion. "You laugh at me, you laugh at us." He caught hold of her hands, but she shrank back, till her passionate little face and loose dark hair were caught among the pink clusters of the apple blossom. Ashurst raised one of her imprisoned hands and put his lips to it. He felt how chivalrous he was, and superior to that clod Joe, just brushing that small, rough hand with his mouth. Her shrinking ceased suddenly, she seemed to tremble towards him. A sweet warmth overtook Ashurst from top to toe. This slim maiden, so simple and fine and pretty, was pleased, then, at the touch of his lips. And, yielding to a swift impulse, he put his arms round her, pressed her to him, and kissed her forehead. Then he was frightened, she went so pale, closing her eyes, so that the long, dark lashes lay on her pale cheeks, her hands, too, lay inert at her sides. The touch of her breast sent a shiver through him. "Megan," he sighed out, and let her go. In the utter silence a blackbird shouted. Then the girl seized his hand, put it to her cheek, her heart, her lips, kissed it passionately, and fled away among the mossy trunks of the apple trees, till they hid her from him. Ashurst sat down on a twisted old tree growing almost along the ground, and, all throbbing and bewildered, gazed vacantly at the blossom which had crowned her hair, those pink buds with one white open apple star. What had he done? How had he let himself be thus stampeded by beauty, pity, or just the spring? He felt curiously happy, all the same, happy and triumphant, with shivers running through his limbs, and a vague alarm. This was the beginning of what? The midges bit him, the dancing gnats tried to fly into his mouth, and all the spring around him seemed to grow more lovely and alive, the songs of the cuckoos and the blackbirds, the laughter of the yaffles, the level slanting sunlight, the apple blossom which had crowned her head. He got up from the old trunk and strode out of the orchard, wanting space, an open sky, to get on terms with these new sensations. He made for the moor, and from an ash tree in the hedge a magpie flew out to herald him. Of man at any age from 5 years on who can say he has never been in love? Ashurst had loved his partners at his dancing class, loved his nursery governess, girls in school holidays, perhaps never been quite out of love, cherishing always some more or less remote admiration. But this was different, not remote at all. Quite a new sensation, terribly delightful, bringing a sense of completed manhood. To be holding in his fingers such a wild flower, to be able to put it to his lips, and feel it tremble with delight against them. What intoxication, and embarrassment! What to do with it, how meet her next time? His first caress had been cool, pitiful, but the next could not be, now that, by her burning little kiss on his hand, by her pressure of it to her heart, he knew that she loved him. Some natures are coarsened by love bestowed on them, others, like Ashurst's, are swayed and drawn, warmed and softened, almost exalted, by what they feel to be a sort of miracle. And up there among the tors he was racked between the passionate desire to revel in this new sensation of spring fulfilled within him, and a vague but very real uneasiness. At one moment he gave himself up completely to his pride at having captured this pretty, trustful, dewy-eyed thing. At the next he thought with factitious solemnity,
"Yes, my boy, but look out what you're doing. You know what comes of it."
Dusk dropped down without his noticing dusk on the carved, Assyrian-looking masses of the rocks. And the voice of nature said, "This is a new world for you." As when a man gets up at 4 o'clock and goes out into a summer morning, and beasts, birds, trees stare at him and he feels as if all had been made new. He stayed up there for hours, till it grew cold, then groped his way down the stones and heather roots to the road, back into the lane, and came again past the wild meadow to the orchard. There he struck a match and looked at his watch. Nearly 12. It was black and unstirring in there now, very different from the lingering, bird-befriended brightness of 6 hours ago. And suddenly he saw this idol of his with the eyes of the outer world, had mental vision of Mrs. Narracome's snake-like neck turned, her quick dark glance taking it all in, her shrewd face hardening, saw the gypsy-like cousins coarsely mocking and distrustful, Joe stolid and furious, only the lame man, Jim, with the suffering eyes, seemed tolerable to his mind. And the village pub, the gossiping matrons he passed on his walks, and then his own friend's Robert Carton's smile when he went off that morning 10 days ago, so ironical and knowing. Disgusting. For a minute he literally hated this earthy, cynical world to which one belonged, willy-nilly. The gate where he was leaning grew grey, a sort of shimmer passed before him and spread into the bluish darkness. The moon. He could just see it over the bank behind, red, nearly round a strange moon. And turning away, he went up the lane which smelled of the night and cow dung and young leaves. In the straw yard he could see the dark shapes of cattle, broken by the pale sickles of their horns, like so many thin moons, fallen ends up. He unlatched the farm gate stealthily. All was dark in the house. Muffling his footsteps, he gained the porch, and, blotted against one of the yew trees, looked up at Megan's window. It was open. Was she sleeping, or lying awake perhaps, disturbed unhappy at his absence? An owl hooted while he stood there peering up, and the sound seemed to fill the whole night, so quiet was all else, save for the never-ending murmur of the stream running below the orchard. The cuckoos by day, and now the owls, how wonderfully they voiced this troubled ecstasy within him. And suddenly he saw her at her window, looking out. He moved a little from the yew tree, and whispered, "Megan." She drew back, vanished, reappeared, leaning far down. He stole forward on the grass patch, hit his shin against the green-painted chair, and held his breath at the sound. The pale blur of her stretched down arm and face did not stir. He moved the chair, and noiselessly mounted it. By stretching up his arm he could just reach. Her hand held the huge key of the front door, and he clasped that burning hand with the cold key in it. He could just see her face, the glint of teeth between her lips, her tumbled hair. She was still dressed, poor child, sitting up for him, no doubt. Pretty Megan. Her hot, roughened fingers clung to his, her face had a strange, lost look. To have been able to reach it even with his hand. The owl hooted, a scent of sweetbriar crept into his nostrils. Then one of the farm dogs barked, her grasp relaxed, she shrank back. "Good night, Megan." "Good night, sir." She was gone. With a sigh he dropped back to earth, and sitting on that chair, took off his boots. Nothing for it but to creep in and go to bed, yet for a long while he sat unmoving, his feet chilly in the dew, drunk on the memory of her lost, half-smiling face, and the clinging grip of her burning fingers, pressing the cold key into his hand.